What up, y'all? Mr. Cruz here, the littest teacher you never had. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you guys can use the ReDrum sequencer to trigger your pads in your Kong Drum Designer. On top of that, I'm going to give you a little extra today, all right? On top of that, I'm going to show you guys how you can route your individual pads, each pad to be its own individual channel in your mixer. All right, so let's get to it. So for first up, what you want to do is you want to create a ReDrum. Let me move my pop filter up a little bit. Pop, pop, pop-a-diddy pop. What you want to do is you want to create a ReDrum and a Kong, and you want to disconnect them right off the bat. If you create something, so let's say over here, if I wanted to create a Kong Drum Designer, if you hold Shift when you click to create it, it'll automatically create it without connecting to any kind of, without auto routing it, essentially. Let's go ahead and delete that because we don't need it. And so I've got a kick, a snare, a closed hi-hat, and an open hi-hat. So what I want to do first is, with creating my ReDrum, is I want to route the gate out on my ReDrum to the gate in with the corresponding pad in Kong. So essentially what the gate does is when an audio signal is what the gate in and out do is when an audio signal is passing through that channel, it's going to trigger an audio signal, or it's going to trigger a MIDI note or a pad. In this case, it's going to trigger the pad to be played in another device. So the beautiful thing is that usually this is kind of what I did when I layered my kicks in. Or not layer my kicks kicks sometimes too, but when I layer my snares, I usually route the gate out from one channel to the gate in another channel, and then that's how when I hit one channel, it'll trigger another channel over here. So that's kind of how I layer my snares, how I do my snares so that they're layered. But what we're gonna do instead is we're just gonna route them to Kong, and with that we can use a sequencer in ReDrum to effectively, or essentially, theoretically, be triggered to trigger the pads in Kong. So if I hit play, actually wait, if I hit run, I'm gonna select pattern 1 first, and I'm gonna hit run, and you can see here, right, and in my first pattern, well, pattern A in bank 1, I've got 1, 2 for my snare, my hi-hats, and then my open hi-hat. Nah, I mean, all right, bam. And then we can see that they're being triggered down here. The other thing, they're being triggered because they're offended. The other thing that you can do is, with this, one thing that's pretty useful is that you can use ReDrum's track to create a pattern, and then you can effectively use, dang, I said that 2 times. I don't feel like I said it too many. Like, I don't know any other words. You can use that to be able to create a pattern in your sequencer, in your main sequencer, to help you with making your drums. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's just a little trick. So for round 2, how to route your Kong Drum Designer pads to be individual channels. This thing is a little tricky, all right? Because what you essentially have to do is on each one of these pads, you have to go in and you have to change down here where it says drum output. So on one, and you're going to do that out in, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that's right. Let me see if I can hit the declutter button. Right, if you hit K, it'll declutter your cable so that it'll only show you what's being routed to whatever rack you have selected. So the reason that this is a little tricky is because if you're going here, actually, well, let's go right to the back. You'll notice, and I'm gonna disconnect these two for a second. You'll notice that there's no 1 and 2 audio out. All right. That's kind of confusing, but what you're essentially going to do is you're just going to use the main output as functioning as, you're going to use the main output to pretty much function as channels 1 and 2, or pad 1 and 2. If I were to take that off, so let's say I've got if I hit play right now, or well, if I hit run, I'm not going to be able to hear anything because nothing's being routed. So I'm going to go to pad 1, and I'm going to make sure that my drum output is to main, left, and right. I'm going to go back here, and to main left, I'm going to put that to input left. All right, I'm going to disconnect that other one because it automatically routes it. So the thing about this is, because it's channel left, I'm going to pan pad 1 all the way to the left. And that's how I get that signal to be able to only be the kick. Because right now, again, we saw that main output 1 is going to be 1 and 2. So when I do 2 for my snare, I need to have that panned all the way to the right so that I hear it. Now, that's the only bad thing that I can kind of see about this, is that it's always going to make your channels mono. So if you're cool with your channels being mono, then there you go. And even when they're here as their own individual channels, you can still pan them. So just know that panning it up here is not going to impact. It's not going to say that like, oh, you have to have it pan straight down the middle, otherwise you're going to lose the audio signal. That's not going to happen. All right. So then if I continue to do that, so if I go to 3, this time I'm going to hit at drum output 3 and 4. And this one also 3 and 4 because that one's 4. So then if I were to continue doing this, I would just do, this one would be 5 and 6. This one would be 7 and 8, 8 and 9, and so on and so forth. So if I were to continue to do that, and again, you still have to do the practice of panning each individual track or each individual pad. Hey, did that not? Yo, why are you tweaking? Oh yeah, it did. Okay, I thought it didn't for a second. You gotta make sure that you keep up with the practice of panning it one channel or one pad to the left and one pad hard right. But there you go, something quick, super simple, super easy. Hopefully that's helpful to you guys. Let me know in the comments below if this is a trick that you've already known, or if it's a trick that you could probably use in the future when you're creating stuff. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate that. I got a couple more videos coming out about Kong Drum Designer as I have been extensively studying it. It's a lot more versatile than I expected, and there's a couple of cool little tricks that I found out in my next video that I'm going to show you guys that I think is super practical and is more than likely going to make Kong an essential part of my production template. All right, so look forward to seeing and hollering at you guys later. Mr. Cruz out.